Hey there. So something that I'm thinking about. I saw this quote earlier today, and it's been playing in my mind for most of the day. And it said, "Do not downplay your growth. Younger you would be so proud of how far you have come." And I had to let that sit for a while to really think about it, because the reality is that so often we will spend our time comparing ourselves to other people. I feel like I have to have this conversation again, not only for myself, but also for all of us in our community. We are so quick to diminish our growth in anything that we're doing. Someone could congratulate us and give us an accolade about a project, an accomplishment, and we may shrug our shoulders and say, well, it's the best that I can do. It's almost as if we continue to make some kind of excuse instead of just accepting it and just simply saying thank you. We want to refute any kind of accolade or achievement or commendation or affirmation that we receive, because for whatever reason in our mind we believe that it's not enough, that we're not worthy of it. And I can't think of how hard that is to keep wanting to hold on to that, because I feel like it's exhausting. Growth can look like so many different things, and yet in our own mind we reject whatever growth we might be making and just kind of conclude that it's nothing, it's non-existent. And sometimes that makes me kind of sad. I started thinking about it today as I was reflecting on that quote. Do not downplay your growth. Younger you would be proud of how far you've come. Younger Jessie was a piece of work, or Jessica. I feel like she was more curious and adventurous. More willing to be expressive. I feel like she was always smiling, and there was always this twinkle in her eye. And play was just a part of life. I remember during my middle school years, I was very much a tomboy. And in the middle school that I went to, we lived in Massachusetts at the time. I hung out mostly with the guys from the football team. I was more into wearing jeans, and this is also in the 80s, so jeans that we would like roll up with like several socks, t-shirts that I would roll the sleeves, or shirts that I would roll the sleeves with. And that was my thing. I wasn't into makeup and everything else. And then I kind of figured like the only reason that some of the girls wanted to be friends with me at some point was because I was friends with the guys on the football team. And that was it. When I think back to the various parts of my younger life, my childhood, my teens, my 20s, my 30s, I feel like in some way those were some of the most amazing times in my life. I feel like I was always willing to do and try more things, and I feel like I was really proud of myself, of all the things I did, at that time. during that time. In my 20s, I moved down to New York City to go to grad school. I lived in New York City because that's something that I wanted to do. I worked at NYU. I worked at ABC for a stint. I lived in Harlem. I worked for an amazing mentor for a Black-owned television studio that was located in the heart of Harlem. And I remember we had weekend programming where we're teaching community residents how to operate a television studio and how to use video cameras. And so we were training them with the goal of having them enter the workforce in some way. Some of those individuals ended up coming to take our class at NYU because I worked with Sir Richard Martin, an amazing mentor and friend. And some of the individuals ended up coming to NYU to take the class to further enhance their skills. And many of them ended up getting positions with some of the different networks, which is really great, especially the ones that were more interested in the technical, the production side of things in terms of being camera operators or camera photographers, in-house or out-of-house. And I feel like sometimes when I think back to the things that I did during that time, it's like I'm so proud of those opportunities and those moments. And somewhere along the line, as we get older, we start to believe that we have nothing to be proud of. I feel like sometimes we spent so much of our time performing, especially as we get older, that we feel that what we're doing isn't enough. We are gauging our success either based on society standards or the organization standards. Everyone else is on standards except for our own. And sometimes that's really hard, because I feel that when we start doing that, so much disappointment sets in. And you start to believe that what you're doing isn't enough. And so even when someone comes up to you and says, hey, great job, automatically you might flinch and start to look for different excuses. Well, I could have done better. You did your best. Well, I could have done better. And there's this back and forth. I hope, and I know that I'm saying this for myself especially, that when you think about where you are right now on this particular day, you acknowledge that you are doing a really great job. And you also acknowledge that you've come very far. And in your ability to come very far, you should be proud. I hope that you don't think about getting so caught up in looking to the left and right of what everyone is doing that you fail to see how amazing you are in terms of what you've been able to accomplish. I hope you take the time, especially today, to think about the wonderful opportunities that are lying ahead for you in so many different ways. True, you might feel like you're not doing enough. You might feel like you could be doing more. But you're doing exactly what you need to be doing, and that's showing up. And even that can be hard. Let's start to think about celebrating our growth in small and big ways. Not looking at it from someone else's perspective and letting that be the thing that kind of sets us back in terms of believing that what we're doing is really great. I think sometimes when we start to sit in that space of not believing that our growth matters and that our growth is enough for that moment, for that day, we end up staying in a space where we're stuck or we give up. And I think sometimes in some ways I've given up years ago, kind of believing that the growth that I wanted to achieve isn't where it needs to be. So what's the point? But especially now, and especially as I'm getting older, I don't want to look back on my life with regrets. I don't want to look back at my life and say I missed an opportunity because I felt that I wasn't ready, or that I didn't pursue an opportunity because I wasn't ready. I would much rather like to look back on my life and say, hey, I did the things that I needed to do, the things that I wanted to do, even though I was scared, even though I was afraid, even though I felt fear. I did them. And I will hold on to the belief that whatever it is that I'm pursuing going forward, whether it turns out exactly the way that I need it to, or it's messy, that's okay, because that is also part of life. So this is just a reminder for any day where you are thinking that your growth doesn't matter. Younger you would be so proud of you and how far you've come. And that's the most important thing that you need to keep in mind. So keep showing up, and it will always